Okay, today we're shooting a video on the Lloyd Galaxy Ultimate Table. It's the only table in the world today that does elevation, flexion, and high-low. This particular table is loaded. It has all manual and auto cocking drops. It has auto flexion and auto height select. And so our goal today was to go over all the features on the table, the knobs and dials, so that if you were interested in making a table purchase, you could look at this particular video and see all the options on there. Or if you had already made a table purchase and wanted to just do a review of the knobs and dials and features available, you could do that as well. All right, so we shot a video earlier on the total dimension flexion headpiece. You can see that video in our library. As far as today's video, we're going to go over the rest of the table. Okay, one of the things you can see for starters is that how long it is. I'm going to mention a number of things that Lloyd Table Company has that nobody else has. And yes, the table gets much shorter, but in this setup here, it's the only table in the world that we can put somebody 7 feet tall on and still have plenty of support under their entire body. All right, so this is the chest section on this particular table. And so we're going to start with the drops. We have manual cocking drops. See, these are the two handles for the upper thoracic and lower thoracic area. And we have tension knobs, one for either side. Okay? So these are star-shaped knobs, and they're better than the round knobs. The round knobs, well, the star-shaped knobs are just easier as you put your thumb and put pressure to turn them either way. The other neat system that Lloyd Table Company has is that they have tension knobs on both sides of the table, manual cocking handles on both sides of the table, and auto cocking strips. 36-inch long white auto cocking strips, again on both sides of the table, so that if you want to work on either side of the table, you don't have to worry about reaching over and disturbing the patient. You have your controls on both sides. So that we turn to the rear of the table to tighten and the front of the table to loosen. Okay? Very simple there. This is our chest extension, and this is our pelvic section, and we have the same dual cocking handles and the same dual cocking, tension knobs on both sides. All right, so that covers your manual cocking. When we go to our selector valve right here, so the selector valve has all these letters on it, and in this particular situation, we're talking about the lumbar and the dorsal, LD, and we press anywhere on this 36-inch long cocking strip, and you get both the sections cock up. So that anywhere I touch on this chest section, we're going to get drop. Whether I touch in the middle, or touch on the rear end, or the front end. You have drop all the way through that particular section. And since your extension piece is connected to it, of course, it drops as well. All right? So if we move over to the lumbar, that's your lumbar section, and the very famous lumbar pelvic section. You get both of these two sections working together. I'm going to remove the chest extension and show you another feature. We'll go over this feature again from the high-low position, but right under the left armrest is a power front button, and it hydraulically moves the chest and head section. So we're going to draw these two together. This knob right here, this black knob here, is what we use to release the chest section. And to lift it, you just simply lift on the section. Okay, so now for a standard size person, or maybe somebody a little bit shorter, we have the table. So when we do our pelvic lumbar, PL, auto cocking, right here, no matter where their L4, L5 lands on the table as they position themselves, you got drop underneath it. So you got drop there, 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 and there. You got drop under the entire section of the body. Very, very nice feature, and that will be a very popular mode for you. Of course, you have pelvic only. One of the other neat things about Lloyd Table Company is it is a hydraulically driven table. That means it's an oil-driven table, and the oil-based systems can lift patients, 800-900 pounds this table would lift, and most of the other tables in the industry top out at 350 pounds. The other thing it does with the hydraulic system on the auto cocking is that you can do drops all day long on this table. The other systems in the industry are pneumatic systems. Those are air compressor driven systems, and when you do a lot of drops, the air compressor sometimes struggles to keep up, and with the Lloyd's hydraulic system, it will work all day long, and you won't have any trouble keeping up at all. All right, next I want to show you the TBar. Okay, so the TBar is a fold-away TBar. Okay, it simply folds up and down, and it breaks away. All right, so as you do your manual flexion, this yellow handle here, you lift up on, and now you release your flexion mechanism. Okay, so if you put your patient on there and it drops all the way down, you need to add pressure to the system. This gray pedal right here, you just reach over and increase pressure, so the system adds pressure to your pelvic flexion and your table lifts up. This is your gauge, which will show you how much pressure is in the flexion system. And let's just say I had a 150-pound patient on the table, and the next patient in weighs 200 pounds. They lay on the table, I release the flexion, and it goes down a little bit. Okay, so if I'm real busy that day, I may say, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and lift on the TBar, and if I do that, the TBar breaks away. I can push down all day long on it, but as soon as I lift, it breaks away. So the idea behind that is that, very simply, that the doctor needs to reach over and add pressure to the system and let the table do the work. If the table does the work, you're not going to hurt yourself, and that's the whole idea behind the breakaway TBar. All right? So we're now going to fold that away. I'm going to show you the ankle slide. So the ankle slides in and out and up and down. Okay? The mechanism back here is very simply, you squeeze these two together, these two knobs together, you lift for it to go up, you squeeze them together for it to go down. Pretty simple there. And to slide it in and out, it simply slides in and out. And if you want to lock that, we lock it in right here. It's a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey sort of lock. So there's your lock mechanism there. All right, the other neat thing about the Lloyd Table Company is the height select box. We'll come to auto flexion in a minute, but the box on the left is height select. This particular table, the Lloyd Ultimate, goes from 22 to 38 inches. All right, so again, that height range is the only table in the industry that has that type of height range. And this particular selector box, you just touch the knob or the button next to the height you want, and you can either hit the button right there and the table will go down and stop at that particular chosen height. We can go up 2 inches, or we can go down. So you can either touch the button or this particular foot pedal, and again there's one on either side, has an orange and a yellow sticker on it. Those orange and yellow stickers are relative to these color buttons here. So you can see right next to them which way the arrows go. So we want to go down yellow, we push yellow, and it stops. Or if we want to go down again, we can push the yellow pedal. So they work all together. It just gives you a convenience of options on where to go to make the table do what you want to do it. Okay, I'm going to go back up. So I'm going to push the orange side, and I'm going to choose 38 inches so the table goes back up. And for sake of this video, the table's a whole lot easier to see when it's all the way up. Okay, so that's the box on the left. One other thing. Here we go, our auto option. That white button there turns on and off with a push. So if it's off and I go ahead and use our pedal to make the table go down, it only goes down when I'm stepping on the pedal. It only goes up when I'm stepping on the pedal. If I push this white button and have it come back on, when I want to go up, I push it once and the table goes up until it either hits the end of the run or I push the pedal again. Okay, so let's go down with that same thing in mind. I push the pedal, the table starts down, push the pedal again, and it stops. That's your auto button here. Okay, most people leave it on as we're going to select all the way up again, push our orange button, and the table will now go all the way up without me touching the pedal at all. Okay, so that's your auto height select box. Next to that is your auto flexion box. Okay, so we have a number we can just dial in right here, and whatever number we dial in, we push our load button, our blue load button, and that particular number loads in the system, and then we can just push start. There we go. Okay, so we're doing our auto flexion right now. I'm going to take my TBar back up. Alright. Stop the system. I'm going to give room for our lateral flexion lock. This particular lock right here, you just lift on it, and now it's a tooth lock. Now we can get a full range on our lateral flexion. Okay, if we start our auto flexion back again, and in the next video we're going to actually put a patient on and show you that as well, but we can just very easily make the table do complete circumduction, and I'm doing it about as easily as you can do it with a patient on there because the table is doing most of the work. Okay, so that will make it easier on the doctor's back, so you don't have to give a lot of stress and strain. And we're going to go ahead and stop that. And I'm going to lock my lateral flexion back in. Okay? This is an auto stop switch. So again, we'll start our auto flexion again. And it's got a little red button on the end. And all you have to do is press the red button and the auto flexion stops. Okay, the value of this is that this can wrap up around the armrest here and Velcro together, and if you choose to leave that for the patient to have their own little kill switch right there, you can do that if you had to leave the room and were concerned about the patient. Okay, if you don't want this switch on there at all, the table operates just fine without it. You just simply unscrew it and take it off, and we can be done with the kill switch button. All right, we have two more knobs on the side of this auto flexion box, and they are delays. One is an up delay and one is a down delay. Sorry, the downward delay and the up delay. There's also a button on top of the box. Okay, this button on top of the box is what you use to turn on or off the delays. Okay, I believe we have the delays turned on there. We're going to start our autoflex, and now I'm going to add some delays. So the table goes all the way down and holds a stretch. They are potentiometers. It's going to go up and hold a stretch or a relaxed position. And down and hold it. If you just simply want it to hold in the down position, we can do that. All right, there are no numbers on these potentiometers. You just have to play with it to get an idea. I'm just barely turning it, so we have plenty of room to have a longer stretch if you want. We can just turn the potentiometer all the way over, and it will stretch for a long time. Or we can turn it all the way back and turn them both essentially to 0, and the table will continue to do its auto flex. I'm going to turn that feature off. Okay, and now I'm going to move over to the valve controls. Okay. All right, so the valve controls are very clearly marked. Up speed and down speed. So you can see our table is going pretty fast right now. So let's slow down. Sorry, let's slow down the up speed. I can actually turn the valve all the way and we have no up speed. Okay, but I'm going to open the valve slightly. And we're going to control how fast we want this table to rock. We can get it to go really slow. See right now it's going down really slow. We have an infinite number of speeds we can do on this particular table. But once you get these valves set to where you like them, okay, this inside knob here, I need you to screw it just hand tight toward the table. So we'll take this inside piece and screw it hand tight toward the table. Then this outside knob is locked. Okay, so if you have any children that come in your office, and children have a wonderful tendency to grab buttons and dials and move them, they won't be able to move that one quite so easily. They'll have to figure out that inside lock. So that's what that lock is for there. All right, at this point I believe we've done most of the knobs and dials on the table with the exception of this bank of lights. Okay, so this bank of lights has 4 different lights on it. Okay, so it has a side bending. Let's see, it has a pelvic extension, a pelvic flexion, and an ankle rest light. For the table to go down and high-low, all those lights have to be off with the Lloyd Ultimate. Otherwise, it's a danger. Okay, so I'm going to get all the lights to be on, so we'll be able to figure out pelvic extension. Okay, right now, all the lights are on. I'll show you how to get all the lights off. So the first one says side bending. That's what I called earlier lateral flexion, and that's this knob here, and all we have to do is straighten the table. First light off. Second light is pelvic extension, and here's our pelvic extension retraction buttons, and I'm going to extend the pelvic back in. Okay, pelvic extension off. All right, pelvic flexion. So there's our flexion, and there's our pelvic flexion knob off, and there's our ankle rest. So we're going to slide our ankle rest in and tighten that, and now our ankle rest light is off. Okay, now the table, you can leave the T-bar up or down, that doesn't matter, but the table will now go down and high-low. Okay, so we can hit the orange button there, or the orange side there. Oops, sorry, this is the yellow side. It's going to go down and high-low up. And notice the footrest will come up and grab the patient's feet so that they don't come right off the table. All right, now that the table is in the high position, you can see this knob a little bit better. We're ready for that patient to get off the table and the next patient to get on. let's just say the next patient is significantly taller, you just reach over here and elevate up, and the whole head and chest frame go up to accommodate for a much taller patient. It's called a power front section. It's a very nice feature. If you've ever used a manual front section, you understand how nice that is. Okay, so we're going to choose our normal height that we like to work at and say 26 inches. Let's go down. Oh, we've got to hit our safety switch. That's what it is. We have a safety switch up here. That's the other button I forgot about. Okay, so our safety switch is located next to the left armrest, and all you have to do is touch it. Touch it in either direction, and that safety switch clearly is for to make sure that a child doesn't activate your table and have it go. So you need to activate your child safety switch, and the table will go down and elevate at our pre-selected 26 inches. Okay, that was a height that I chose, and you can choose whatever height you like. All right? So when your table is, again, all 4 lights are off, but if we put our patient on the table and we extend it out, okay, notice that the pelvic extension light came on. Okay, if I manually do my flexion distraction and work my healing magic on the patient, and then I'm ready to high-low them again, one of the last things you want to do is actually extend the pelvic back in, because that's what we just worked on, and they're sore. That's what this button here is for. So that notice that when I push this button here, the pelvic and the head and chest will all move forward together. So we won't be putting any stress on the patient's lumbar section. All you do is push the button, and the table goes forward. There was no stress on their pelvic section, and all the lights are out. We're ready to high-low. All right, so that concludes our video on all the features on the Lloyd Ultimate table and all the knobs and dials. So hopefully that would help you if you either have a table or are looking to buy a table. Thank you.